Hello, my name is Alexander Gluchowski, but you may also know me as AJ. I am a current senior at the University of Mary Washington, and just a few weeks left to go until graduation. You probably saw the title of this video, but before I hop into my 3D modeling program, I want to tell you the story of how I got to this point. All the way back in 8th grade, I was a student at Nitchman Middle School in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I had been playing the trumpet for 5 years at that point, but I was sort of falling out of love with it. My parents sat me down and asked if I wanted to keep going with marching band. I knew that I wanted to continue making music, but I wasn't sure trumpet was going to hold my attention for much longer. I had already auditioned and been accepted into the Liberty High School Grenadier Band in Bethlehem on my trumpet, but my parents had another suggestion: bagpipes. And I laughed. I had never once thought of myself as a bagpiper, though I had grown up in Bethlehem surrounded by them. But after dedicating some time to deciding whether or not bagpipes were the right course of action, I approached the band director at Liberty High School and began my journey with the Great Highland Bagpipes. I began in the summer of 2016, and I played with the Liberty High School Pipes and Drums until 2020, and I held the position of pipe major, which is the leader of the bagpipe band, and I finished off my senior year strong as I could in the spring of 2020. In early 2020, I was on a road trip with my father to tour some of the universities that I had narrowed my college search down to, and UMW was one of them. I did not have an official tour scheduled, but I had been in contact with one of the students in the Eagle Pipe Band before my arrival, and when I arrived to campus, he made himself available to give my father and I a tour. The band also organized an impromptu practice on an afternoon that they did not usually meet, just so I could get a taste of what the Eagle Pipe Band was like. This made my decision process pretty easy. As soon as I got back in the car with my father, I told him that UMW was the place for me. Flash forward 2 years, I find myself spending a lot of time in UMW Digital Knowledge Center, in UMW's Digital Knowledge Center. A friend of mine that I met during the time I was in the Liberty High School Pipes and Drums was just getting into 3D printing, and I was following closely behind. One of the DKC consultants trained me to use the 3D printers, and I began printing some small fidget toys that I had found online. However, I felt that I could be doing more with my time and with my skills. I asked myself, how can I combine my hobbies and my passions? And that led me to designing a practice chanter in a CAD program called OnShape. A practice chanter, simply put, is the practice version of bagpipes. Much quieter, much more portable, a little more squeaky. But I spent September and October of 2022 developing my practice chanter, printing iteration after iteration. And this is one of those practice chanters that I had printed during the fall 2022 semester. I started engraving them with UMW Eagle Pipe Band, and they are modeled closely after the Gibson brand chanter that I had been playing since 8th grade when I had started. The Digital Knowledge Center offered me a fellowship in late October and to continue working and documenting my progress, and I eagerly accepted. I spent the rest of that semester printing practice chanters for the members of the Eagle Pipe Band, just so that we could all have a similar chanter, and they could all be in different colors, and they could all have the UMW Eagle Pipe Band on the chanter cap. But after that semester, I studied abroad in Edinburgh, Scotland during the spring of 2023, and I learned as much as I could about the instrument while I was there. I returned home, continued my fellowship with the DKC, but this time I was working on designing the drones, which are the part of the bagpipe that rest on the piper's shoulder. And this brings me all the way to my capstone project. This spring, 2024, I began working on one of the trickiest parts of the bagpipes, which is the bagpipe chanter. One might think that it might not be too dissimilar from the practice chanter, but the bagpipe chanter is much more delicate and intricate. I modeled my bagpipe chanter after a Shepherd bagpipe chanter, which is a popular brand. They are reliable, but they're also the chanter of choice for the UMW Eagle Pipe Band. They work well with most reeds, which I'll dive into a little bit more. So a bagpipe reed is a double cane reed. It is constructed from 2 pieces of cane, which are shaped into triangles that make up the blades, and the cane is shaped to create a slight curve, as you can kind of see here. And then it is placed around a copper or brass tube, which is crimped at one end, which is called the staple. The practice chanter reed is a bit more simple, but it's constructed mostly of plastic. However, both of these reeds are very intricate and delicate, and so I did not include that in my 3D printing process. However, let's hop over to OnShape, and I can show you the 3D model. So here we are. This is OnShape, and as I have previously mentioned, it is a browser-based CAD or computer-aided design software. And we are going to head into my document for the Bagpipe Chanter. So to discuss a few aspects of the chanter, we can see that there are 10 holes that make up the body of the chanter. So 7 on the front, 1 on the back up here, and then 2 down here on the sides. And I'll get into what those do in just a second. A little bit more about Onshape. This program and most other 3D modeling programs will have users begin with a sketch, and this is a 2D representation of what will turn into a 3D model. So just to showcase that a little bit, on these I tend to start by sketching out the interior of what the model is going to look like. So this is a sketch measured from my Shepherd Chanter of what the interior bore looks like. So this is the bottom of the chanter down here, and then this is the top where you would insert the reed. So you can see it kind of slopes inward and then very quickly slopes outward to have the reed seat. And then we can move over into my second sketch, for which you can see I modeled the outside of the chanter, the exterior. And so up here we have the part that would connect into, it would slot into the bagpipe, and then it slopes down to the bottom where we have some steps that make up the bell of the chanter. And then I smoothed out those right angles later on with some fillets. And as you can see, I have only modeled half of the chanter, because then when we move from a 2D sketch to a 3D model, you can use something called this revolve tool up here in the corner, and it will just revolve around and it will make a 3D model of your 2D sketch in 360 degrees, which leaves us with this with the round object. And then from the original sketch of the interior bore, I can turn that into a 3D model and remove that from my chanter, leaving the holes behind. And so we can move over into sketch 4 here. And there's a lot going on here, but this is the intricate measurements in between each hole of the chanter. So on the Bagpipe Chanter, we have the 8 holes that your fingers rest on, 4 on the bottom, 3 on the top, and your thumb on the back. And so those measurements are taken from the Shepherd Chanter and are mapped here perfectly. And so when this is printed, it should sound exactly like the chanters that we play in the Eagle Pipe Band, making it much cheaper and much less difficult to acquire chanters for our bagpipers to use. So another interesting thing is these 2 holes at the bottom are they're perpendicular to the rest of the holes. They're called the tone holes. They keep our low G in tune, which is our lowest note here, which is played with all fingers down. And they control the volume of the chanter by acting as a resonance chamber as well. Another fun fact, bagpipe music is written in A mixolydian, which refers to the key and the mode for the music theorists out there. But our low A, which is all fingers down except your pinky, is tuning somewhere between 480 and 485 hertz, mostly depending on the weather. So to describe 2 more quick parts, up here, like I mentioned, this is the part that connects to the bagpipe. And the reason there are ridges here is because you wrap waxed string around the outside to hold the joint together when you attach it to the bagpipe. And with moisture from blowing into the instrument, that string will expand and it'll hold a airtight seal. And so that's on most joints of the bagpipe, and even on the practice chanter. You can see that the black is just waxed string wrapped around. Same thing here, I have yellow on my Shepherd, and that just helps to create that airtight seal when you're blowing into the bag. We don't want air to be escaping. And so down at the bottom here, I briefly mentioned it before, this is the bell of the chanter. You'll see different brands of chanters have different shapes of bells. However, the tone doesn't change very much. It is said to help enhance the tone and raise the volume of the chanter. But because I wanted to keep it as accurate to the chanters that we play with the Eagle Pipe Band, I tried my best to mimic that. So, just to briefly mention, because of the growing popularity of the 3D printers here on campus, I have not been able to secure time to print one of these chanters yet, as they would each take a couple of days to print. However, I've spent many days ensuring the accuracy of the measurements, and I'm confident that once it is printed, this chanter will work well. This is a project that I'm excited to continue as I further explore my 3D printing as a hobby and a passion after I graduate. I'm incredibly grateful for the support and assistance I've received from a number of people. Cartlin Burge and Shannon Hauser of the DKC have been incredibly supportive of all of my projects, along with my bagpipe instructors Lauren McMillan, Andrew Donlin, and Olivia Corcoran. I'm also grateful to Dr. Anand Rao for overseeing this project and the UMW Honors Department for pushing me to be more. Thank you very much.